Hi there. The following batch of games were actually played 2 days after the tournament in Esbjerg, but I've had some technical difficulties in uploading them, probably because the games were too long and the files were too big. So I've tried to cut them up a bit and refrain from uploading all the games. It's from my childhood playgroup in a place called Højbjerg in Denmark, which translated means high mountain, but it's not really a mountain. In Denmark, anything larger than an anthill is deemed a mountain. So in any other country, it's just a hill, but we'll roll with it here. There's a couple of guys here from I've played with since '94, Kitchen Table Magic, and we have a blue-green Toolbox Skies hybrid homebrew against a Dreams combo deck that's primarily, I think it's white, red, and black. So, without further ado, here we go. So we have the Dreams combo guy on the right. It's Thomas, and he's mulliganed down to 6 cards using the London Mulligan, discarding a sinkhole there, as he doesn't have the double black mana to use it. The blue-green deck has mulliganed down to 5 cards on the left, and the Dreams combo starts out with the black wires. It's not the best card at this point when you have mulliganed so much, but it does a point of damage to Jacob on the left. And following up with another plateau. And passing the turn. There's another point of damage for Jacob, as he can't seem to empty his hand that fast. And Jacob elects to strip mine one of the plateaus. Here's a swamp from Thomas. And he tutors. Perhaps going for a Wheel of Fortune here in order to get Jacob into a full hand again with only an island out. I think that was the choice. So another island from the blue-green sky stack, and there's a boomerang on the swamp. That's a card you don't see every day. But it sets Thomas back a bit here. He can't wheel at this point. So the swamp comes right back, and he starts to empty his hand with by chain lightning the dice on Jacob. So Jacob just keeps on being a land destructor here, chaos orbing the plateau. Luckily, Thomas has another land. It's a mountain. And Jacob attacks with the factory, and Thomas tries to disenchant it, but Jacob reminds him that he doesn't have any plateaus left. They have been land destructed, so he can't disenchant it, and he takes 3 points of damage. Jacob follows up with an ice storm. He has a lot of land destruction in that deck. I like that. And just keep cracking those mountains so that his factories can get in. And getting out a mana bird. I see Jacob has the same philosophy with his sleeves as I do, using the Turkish sleeves because that's the colors of his deck, blue and green. I do the same in the Dead Guy Ale deck with it's purple because it's black, white, and red and blue. Anyway, Thomas is a bit mana screwed here, having lost 3 lands, and but having a plateau at this point and being able to defend himself with that factory. So Jacob gets 3 points of life from that factory. And then he Storm Seekers. Thomas. It's not a card we usually see at tournaments, but it's actually pretty fun. It does a point of damage for each card you have in hand, so it's an instant. So Jacob plays it at Thomas's draw step in order to maximize the damage. So that was 6 points of damage right there. And now he attacks with the factory. And Thomas elects to disenchant it. But he gets power synced out. So Thomas is at 7 life now. He needs to work fast. It was pretty brutal. And he has a Wheel of Fortune, but it's too dangerous to use at this point as he has many answers in his hand against that factory, so he doesn't chance it now. But he gets mana drained. So his factory gets in again, and Thomas is at 5 life at this point. Drawing into another Swords to Plowshares. He has all the answers, but he only has mana to try once, and they just keep on getting countered at this point. So Jacob attacks again. The third time is a charm, as Thomas Swords to Plowshares that factory. So now he gets out of Swamp. So that should help his severely pressured mana situation a bit. Jacob puts out a Mox Sapphire, but doesn't do much. He only has 1 card in hand at this point, but having done a lot of damage to Thomas Mind Twists him and gets a Desert Twister in the process. And here's a factory from Jacob. At least Thomas has a Swords to Plowshares in hand. That Wrath of God won't help him. Here's a factory. And I suppose Thomas actually has to use the swords at this point. And there's a Sinbad. It's a 1/1 blue creature, and it can tap to look at the top card of your library, and if it's a land, you get to draw it. And it's nifty in combination with Silver Libraries and other cards that let you know what the top card of your deck is, obviously. And it can also do a point of damage. So Thomas is at 4 life now. Draws straight into a Lightning Bolt. So he likes to shoot Sinbad. It's not the greatest threat, but when you're at 4 life, anything is a threat, I suppose. And Jacob just keeps on drawing mana. So Thomas gets down a factory. So now it's his turn perhaps to be on the offensive, and Jacob only has a Mox. And the Mace of Fifth keeps Jacob safe at this point. So Thomas puts out a Winter Orb. I actually think that does more damage to Thomas at this point than Jacob. Because that blue-green deck has so many non-land mana sources out at this point. And he follows up with sinkholing the factory. He needs to get rid of any threat because he's so low in life at this point. So it seems that he has drawn into an Untold Dreams, so I suppose he needs to untap that Swamp and hope for a 3rd black mana source here. That's a 2nd factory. Now he can get in but that Winter Orb will actually hold him back. Okay, so here's a Serendipity Freed played by Jacob. This is a real problem as it's a flyer. And Thomas elects to cast Wheel of Fortune here in order to draw into a new hand, but it gets immediately countered. Jacob is just merciless at this point. So now there aren't any real outs. He sinkholes the Mace of Fifth. He really needs to draw a 2nd white mana source in order to get that Wrath of God in play. So he's at 1 life now. But he has a Wrath of God in hand. And it's a mountain. So, yeah, that's it. That's game. So the first one goes to the blue and green toolbox sky setup. This is match number 2. And both players are drawing their hand. I think the blue-green deck has mulligan down to 6 cards at this point. And Dreams combo is on the play. Starts up with a mountain. And the blue-green decks starts out with a turn 1 Library of Alexandria. At least he has mulligan down to 6 cards. But it'll be online next turn. And Thomas actually has a sinkhole in hand, but he needs a 2nd black mana source in order to get rid of that library. You need it fast. So the green deck draws an extra card with the library and puts down an emerald. So there's a soul ring from Thomas. Yeah, and he actually, I think he has a balance there, yeah. So I think that's the correct play. He can't sinkhole it fast enough. He doesn't know if he has an extra black mana source. So the balance is a great plan B here. It will force Jacob to discard down to the same hand size as Thomas has, and thereby negating the effect of the Library of Alexandria. Yep. As a factory, and okay, so Jacob just elects to start emptying his hand now. No need to keep holding back because he's out of range, severely out of range of that library. So he puts down a factory and a soul ring, and Thomas answers with a factory of his own. And there's a Sinbad. Now he only needs a silver library. One of the reasons why many of the decks in this playgroup might seem a bit unorthodox is because the playgroup has been isolated from the rest of the world until about 2 years ago. So it was just about 4 or 5 guys, me included, that just played semi-regularly together. Okay, so Sinbad gets in for a single point of damage. Now it's Thomas's turn. Okay, here's a Meek Stone. Doesn't change the board state that much at this point, but I suppose it could help him against all the Serendipity Freaks. And I think Jacob plays with some other big beaters as well. So Thomas attacks with the factory and has the plateau untapped, so Jacob wisely elects to just let it in. If he would have blocked it there would probably be a lightning bolt or Swords to Plowshares to attack it, and he can just counter-attack as he does here. So he swings in with the factory, and as soon as Thomas tries to Swords to Plowshare that factory, he power sinks him. Okay, so there's a scrub land from Thomas that actually mana fixes him somewhat. There's a sinkhole removing one of the factories, and Thomas swings back with his own factory. Oh, and there's an old school favorite. It's a Mahamoti Jin, 5/6 flyer. It's a real iconic card. Oh, but it gets immediately removed by that Wrath of God, and so does Sinbad. And here's another factory coming in. Jacob doesn't have the mana to activate his own factory in response. So Jacob is actually a bit pressured here. That Wrath of God hit hard. So he considers about counter-attacking, but I think he elects to stay back, or he should at least. Trying to defend himself at this point. And here comes the factories. And Jacob responds and pumps his own factory. So it becomes a 3/3, but he gets disenchanted, so Jacob takes 4 points of damage here. He really needs something out here, and he doesn't have any. He has the green marks, I suppose, so he can get something out. But there's the top deck's a factory, so that's what he needs here. And perhaps Sonic Blasts or something. So he tries to defend again, but there's so much removal in Thomas's deck. There's another disenchant. Okay, so Jacob drops a Tropical Island. That's not really what he needs at this point. There's an Undual Dreams out from the Dreams combo player. And here's the factories, and that's game. So that's 1-1 between these decks, and the third and final match will be coming up shortly. At least we got to see an Untold Dreams from the Dreams combo deck just before curtain call here. But Thomas's deck really needs them to function with Winds of Change and draw 7s and similar cards in order to rack up the damage. Jacob just wouldn't allow it with all his land destruction and is following up with Storm Seekers and all sorts of spiciness. So we'll see what will happen between these two in the next match. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.